Hello and welcome to Frank Mahoney's Racer Profile. My name is John Bennett, and tonight we have a really neat show for you. We're going to be interviewing a Portland racer with Formula V Racing. And we're talking tonight to Jess Heitman and Jolene Heerman. And as you can see, that we have here in the MCTV studios a Formula V racer. This is pretty exciting stuff. And once again, this show is produced by Frank Mahoney. And the intro that you saw was done by Frank, and I think that was really a nice intro, or a nice little collage of racing that he did there, don't you?
Yes, very good.
Well, anyway, welcome to the show, Jess and Jolene. Maybe we could get into this right away by having you tell us a little bit about what we were just seeing there. That looked like a Formula V race, and how many cars were in that?
Well, actually, that looked like this Rose Cup race from 1994.
Uh-huh.
And I think a little later on, Frank has the Formula V, some pictures from the Formula V race in that Rose Cup. But that's the Rose Cup is the biggest race of the year in Portland for amateur racing.
Where's it held?
Portland International Raceway, which is PIR.
Were you in this race?
Yes, I was.
And were you driving this car here?
Yes, we ran this car.
Excellent. Now, Jolene, you're the crew chief, is that right?
That's correct.
So what does the crew chief do?
Basic support things, make sure there's things to drink, the
Like hot
tires are right.
and-
Yeah, whatever the guys need.
Uh-huh. How long have you been running the car, Jess?
We've been running Formula Vs for 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about just a general perspective of Formula V racing, how it got started, and how you got into it.
Sure, be happy to. Formula V actually started in 1963. This is really a very old class. It was originated to get people involved in racing and get them involved so they could afford it. The car is based on a 1963 Volkswagen Beetle. All the components in the car, the engine, the transmission, the steering, the suspension, are all out of a 1963 Volkswagen Beetle.
Wow.
The class is extremely limiting. The engine is a 40 horsepower motor. It must be stock. There are a few very minor modifications that are allowed. You can do anything with the body and frame as far as your design. The rear cowl on the car must be wide enough and tall enough to incorporate the original air blower housing that was on the motor. But other than that, you're pretty free. The car has a minimum weight of 1,025 pounds with the driver.
Okay, so what's a regular Beetle weigh?
They were about 1,700 or 1,800 pounds.
So it's actually not that much lighter than a Beetle.
Well, they're half the weight.
Okay. So how did all this get started? Some guys get together and go, let's race our Beetles, or let's chop these things down?
Well, they were looking for a class that was a single-seat, open-wheel car that basically it's something that's really was cost-effective. You could get into a car like, not one like this, but originally in '63, you could buy a kit for about $1,200, $1,400, and add an engine and add the Volkswagen parts to it that you could scrounge out of a wrecking yard, and you could have a race car for $2,000.
You know, it's amazing how many things have been done with Volkswagen parts and Volkswagen, the old Beetle. And
Correct.
of course, I guess they're not selling those things anymore, are they? I mean, it's how easy is it to get parts for
well, actually, they do sell new Beetles. They sell them in Mexico and Brazil.
Oh.
And so you are actually able to get some parts for these. The original German parts being the ones that you really want. They are of the highest quality.
This is a little off point, but why aren't they selling Beetles in the United States anymore?
I'm sure due to the emission and safety standards.
Uh-huh. Now, this isn't road legal, is it?
No. No, not quite.
So, Jolene, how did you get involved in this?
I was just keeping books for Jess, and I would do that and watch them build the cars, and it seemed like they were having a lot more fun than I was, and I gradually got involved helping him sand or lift things or carry things, and it just kind of developed.
Well, tell me about the business. You have a business that supports all of this, I take it.
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
Auto Marine Service Company.
And you're located on Woodstock.
No, we're located on Northeast Sumner Street And
but it says prepared and maintained by Woodstock Racing, and you told me before the program that that has something to do with Woodstock Avenue.
This is correct. This is correct.
In Portland,
yes.
Oregon. Maybe you could explain that.
Yes,
And also, our producer Frank Mahoney has something to do with
yes,
this
he does.
too.
Yes, my business I started was in 1972, and it's Auto Marine Service Company, and it is takes care of the funding of this. Woodstock Racing was formed in 1964. It was formed at Johnny's Service at 47th and Woodstock. And myself and Doug Gerardo, John Gerardo, the owner of Johnny's Service, kind of started it, and we used to build whatever kind of cars, destruction derby cars and sports
Destruction
cars.
derby cars.
We did everything back then, and it was pretty neat. And Frank Mahoney, the producer of this show, lived just down the street, and so he'd come up there and see what we were doing all the time, and it just kind of kept going from there, and it's gone for a good many years now. But we've run race cars. We had a top fuel dragster. We've run pro stock cars. We've run modified production drag cars. We ran a Trans Am car at one point in time in the 60s.
Now you actually build these cars.
That's correct.
From scratch.
Yes, we do.
That's amazing.
We buy the raw materials. The body of this car, we built the molds for the body, and did all the tooling. The frame, I built the jig for the frame and manufactured it. The only actual part of this car we don't make is the windshield.
Now this isn't a Portland, just solely a Portland type thing, is it?
Yes, it is. This car
is Portland?
This car is common only to Portland, Oregon.
This type of car?
No, this type of car runs nationally.
Oh,
but
okay.
This is a Tsunami race car, and it is common only to Woodstock Racing.
Now let me get this straight. So this style of Formula V is kind of particular to Portland.
This particular type of car, yes.
But this is kind
Formula
of
V racing is throughout the United States, and actually it's in Europe too.
I mean, what is it? You guys kind of copy each other, or is this kind of the Jess Heitman?
No, this car is actually, unfortunately, similar to another car. I like the design of someone's car quite well, and I decided that I would look into doing my own car that was similar to that. And the thing that makes the two cars so similar is the windshield.
Oh, I see. Okay. So when's the next race?
We're leaving the morning of the 14th of September for Sears Point, California, to run the Pacific Coast Championships.
When's the next race in Portland? Where can somebody go and see it in Portland here?
Actually, they're going to have to wait a while because the next one will be next year.
Oh, no.
In 1995.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, you guys don't get out every weekend and
no,
have a little
unfortunately
duel?
we don't. We don't do that. The Portland schedule was cut short this year due to the use of the PIR.
And that's the only place you can race them, huh?
That's correct. We've looked in different venues. We looked at one point, in fact, we went out and ran Portland Speedway, which is an oval track, and they do this in California. They run Formula Vs on oval tracks, and it's extremely surprising at how quick they are.
How fast does a car like this go?
This car will run in the 115 to 117 mile an hour range at Portland. In Atlanta, Georgia, which is the one track in the nation where they run, which the national championships were held until 1994, the cars at the end of the straightaway were 134 miles an hour.
Wow.
So that's pretty impressive for the limited amount of horsepower you have.
Yeah, for a little Volkswagen engine, it's pretty fast. So anybody ever get hurt running these things?
Yes, unfortunately, there has been people killed. There hasn't been any recently. I sustained a pretty good injury a couple of years ago when I backed one into a wall at 100 miles an hour.
Ouch.
But it took them about half an hour to get me out of the car, and I'd separated a shoulder blade and collarbone.
Well, and looking at it, it does look like it takes a shoehorn to get into the thing and probably a crowbar to get out. And it looks like the kind of thing that, you know, by the time you're old enough to afford one, you can't get into it anymore.
It gives you an incentive not to gain weight.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Have you ever had a chance to? He won't. Well, he won't let you drive the car, huh?
No, no.
Jess.
What can I say? Jolene's actually, I mean, I have to give her a lot of credit because she's really been instrumental in us winning several races this year because as you see on the front of the car, there's an antenna there, and we have a two-way radio in it. And Jolene is at the other end of that two-way radio.
So you can order out for pizza and stuff
I can order up pizza when I come in. You know, I want dinner served and it's ready.
Does this push start, or do you have to kick?
No,
I mean,
it has an onboard starter. It needs a battery plugged into it. There's a small battery that just runs the electrical system in the car, and it will not start the engine. So we plug an auxiliary battery into it to start it.
How many people and how many racers do we have in Portland here?
Actually, in Portland, there isn't that many. We generally in the Northwest, that would encompass Portland, Seattle, and Canada. We're generally seeing a 20 to 25 car field.
20 to 25 cars. I take it that this is sort of a, I don't want to sound pejorative, I take it this is kind of a poor man's sport. I mean, it's an inexpensive way to get into road racing.
That's correct. It is, and unfortunately the costs have been escalating dramatically in the last couple of years. You used to be able to buy a used Formula V, an older one, for $2,000. That same car today is $5,000. And
still, that's pretty cheap when you consider what probably some of these other racers start. Is this kind of an entry level for a lot of?
This is correct.
Racers?
Yeah, it's an entry level. It's made originally. It was made as an entry level thing.
You mentioned that a lot of well-known racers are now started out in Formula V.
Yeah, one of the best known of those would be Rick Mears, and Rick Mears definitely ran Formula V, and he was quite successful at it.
How do Portland racers fare against national or international? Are there international racers?
Well, no, there isn't. Basically, it's just national racing.
It's kind of an American sport?
Pretty much. The European Formula Vs use a little different, they use a little larger engine, a little different braking system and stuff like that. Oh. And they've upgraded their cars. These cars have not really changed since 1963. There's been a few changes they've allowed us in the engine part. They've allowed, I don't know if you have seen an old Volkswagen, they have a blower housing on them and a generator. And they've allowed us to take that off, and we use just ram air. That's what the scoop's in the side of the car for. Use ram air to cool the engines. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the biggest things that's happened, and that happened in the mid-'70s.
How many times a year do you get to take this thing out?
As many as we have money for.
Oh.
We've been running about 6 to 8 races a year on it. It's just the funding is basically the limiting factor here. Every time this car runs in a national event, it's a minimum of $1,000.
You know, I guess I can't help but be impressed by really how cheap that is. I mean, yeah, I keep hearing these stories about how expensive it is to be to run race cars, and I suppose that in comparison to that, that's relatively inexpensive. I mean, not as if $1,000 isn't a lot of money to me, but I suppose you have other costs too, like putting up your crew and food and lodging.
Well, the $1,000 is basically for a hometown race here. We ran a Rose Cup this year, and Rose Cup is as I said earlier, the biggest race of the year in the Portland area for amateur racing, and that one race was about a $1,500 race. It took 2 sets of tires, and the tires are $500 a set.
Wow.
So we needed 2 sets of tires for that, and then fuel and entry fees and so on and so forth. And the entry fee for like a combined regional national race is in the area of $200.
You must get into some real delicate situations, and there's no fender on the wheels, and I imagine if somebody just touches it with their car, that can make for some pretty serious damage to the wheel. Or
well, the biggest problem with open wheel cars, if you touch wheels, someone goes up and gets a pilot's license because immediately it flips the other car up in the air.
Wow, how often does that happen?
Well, it doesn't happen too often. We just have years. This year's been pretty calm for wrecking cars. We've had years where you go out there and at the end of a race there's carnage all the way around the track. Every
Really?
corner there's carnage.
How does that feel when your car gets wrecked? You
It
must feel horrible.
It doesn't feel very good. I can attest to it. Nothing I like less than fixing broken race cars, especially when they're mine.
Does it ever cause like altercations between the racers? Do they get out and yell at each other?
No, well, I think yes, I would say sometimes once in a while people yell at each other, but basically it is an amateur sport, and the people that are racing these are probably, what do we want to say, more professional about it.
Uh-huh. Why is it amateur and not professional?
There's really no money involved, no prize money involved in this or anything else. There is an association in the United States that does run some professional V races. Unfortunately, we built this car this year and we did not get to go to the professional race down in California. It was in conjunction with the NASCAR Winston Cup race at Sears Point. And they had a professional V race down there. And that was actually a pretty good race. It's you'd come out with about $2,500, $3,000 if you win that. That's in money and contingencies.
Yeah. How many of these cars have you built?
This is the fifth one.
The fifth one. You're going to be a real pro at this. Well, I guess we have a video that we're about ready to go to, and when we come back to the studio, if there's still time, I'm going to try to talk these guys into maybe moving a camera up so we can get some shots inside the car, and have Jess and Jolene show us some of the more interesting details about the car. So stay tuned, and we'll go to that video as soon as Frank's ready to.
Off the jump, you got that much less traffic to deal with. Well, you take it over 100. Follows up any one of those cars in the first two groups could win this race still. Let's pick up the leaders on the course.
Already into turn 3, it's now number 11, Scott Shelley, that has the lead. The 50 of Brian McCarthy is in second place, headed for turn 4. McCarthy straight away comes this long number 25 car.
right down to what may be the checkered flag.
Checkered flag is out. Here come the cars. Coming down the start finish. And no, they're not going to be able to slingshot out and make any kind of a pass. Brian McCarthy will cross the start finish line.
Great drive right down
Jess, you got a few words just to say how it was out there?
Tiring, Frank.
Real tiring.
Very tiring.
I only got about 10 seconds left. What can you say in 10 seconds?
I can say I'm very tired. That was a hell of a race.
I guess you almost got him at the end, right?
We tipped it on 2 wheels. We're picking up about a half a second a lap on him after the accident.
And welcome back to the program, to Racer Profile. My name is John Bennett. This program is produced by Frank Mahoney. And today we're talking to Jess Heitman and Jolene Heerman. Jess is on my left here, and Jolene's over here sitting in the chair. We just got through watching a road race. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That was the
Rose Cup National Race.
The Rose Cup National Race, and we're over here taking a closer look at the car, and we're going to have Jess tell us a little bit about that, and maybe we can talk him into actually getting into the car so you can see what that's like. Apparently it's quite an operation, and Jolene, you have the shoehorn, is that right?
That's correct.
And the grease.
And the grease.
And the grease, okay. But first, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the car. You were talking about the tires and saying that they're special tires, and they're kind of sticky, is that right? And
that's
why
correct.
They tend to pick up stuff. And you say they're only good for they're really only good for one good race.
Well, no, the tires go through heat cycles, and you get them hot and they cool, and get them hot and they cool. The tires are at their best in the first heat cycle.
Mm-hmm.
In a national race, you want the tires to be their best. The tires, now we have run some brands of tires that one race is all you get out of them. They are worn out. They are physically worn out. They're not usable again. These tires, we've had very good luck with them. We do run new tires for every national race, but we don't throw them away. We use them for other races and practicing, testing, what have you. But they're not discarded. They're used again, but they're not the quality we need for the national competition levels.
Okay. Well, and I see you have little side mirrors, obviously, to see who's coming up on your hind side. You were telling me that like in any other kind of racing, you develop a slipstream, and you get into a lot of slingshotting duels.
It's called drafting. Yes, that's very predominant in Formula V racing. And all it is they do the same thing in the Winston Cup racing on the big tracks, Talladega and Daytona and stuff. You'll see them be in a line. We run the same way. And what it is, the car in front punches a hole in the air, which creates a vacuum behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone sits 6 inches or a foot behind the car, and you're actually dragged along. And if you do it just right, you can come up behind somebody and they actually drag you along, and you'll get the momentum to pull out and pass them.
Did you tell me that your car got rear-ended here a little while back?
Yeah, the first time we ever ran it, when it was brand new,
it
had some damage on it.
It was kind of crumpled up? I mean, it looks fine.
Well, we repaired it somewhat.
Oh, I see.
It just hasn't been repainted.
I can see a little crack there. It's a beautiful car. It really is a neat-looking car. It looks like a lot of fun to drive. It's a Tsunami. That's the name. That's
correct.
The style of the car.
Right.
Now, you said you have an onboard computer here.
Right. This is a data acquisition system.
And this is unique to your car.
Yes, it is. One of my friends that works for Boeing Aircraft Company built that, and he wrote all the software for it, built the hardware, and we've been kind of testing it and working on it for a couple of years actually until we just got it perfected this year. So it's kind of exciting. What it does right now, it has 8-channel capability, and we measure wheel speed, engine RPM, and we'll be able to measure just about anything else you want on the car.
Now I noticed there's a little hole down here in the bottom of the car, and it has a little cowl over it. What's that? Is that
okay? That's to take and
pick up
equalize
rocks and blow them into your face, or?
Well, it does that. It does that very well. But basically, that's to equalize the pressure in the car.
Equalize the pressure in the car.
What happens? with the air coming over the windshield, it created a vacuum inside the car.
Oh, I see.
And you would get exhaust, a buildup of exhaust in the car.
And you also need a drain for the sweat and other precious body fluids
Yes,
that you're losing during the program.
We have, your camera can't pick it up, I'm sure, but over
yeah,
here
if they
there's,
wheeled it over here.
there's a cylinder over there on the side that controls the shock in the back. And you can adjust the shock while you're racing.
There's
Change
a red
shock settings.
looks like a little fire.
Okay, that's an onboard fire system.
Oh, so you do have a fire extinguisher?
Yes, there is. It's an onboard fire system. It extinguishes. There's a nozzle in the driver's compartment, also one in the engine compartment.
That's comforting.
And that's the agent in it is halon.
Now, Jolene, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what you do. You're in constant communication with Jess when he's on the track.
That's correct.
And what kind of information are you relaying to him?
Lap times, how fast he's going, where the competition is, where the other field, where they're at,
Who's
what
coming
position.
up on his backside? Or?
Yeah, if there's any accidents, he can tell me if there's been something going on, or I could let him know if there's something that he doesn't know about.
Are there pit stops?
No, if you make a pit stop, you're out.
I see, okay.
That's too short of a time period. You're
Are
talking
you-
20.
Are you pretty much his crew? I mean, is Jolene pretty much your crew, or
Well,
do you have
Jolene
other
is,
people that
is
work with
pretty,
you?
yes, I do have other people that work with me. She just kind of is heads it up, so to speak, and takes care of everything on race day.
Uh-huh.
And then she's behind the scenes a lot when we're getting the car ready to go and stuff. And we have one other person that is really instrumental in being the crew on the car. And he also drives.
What do you see as being your most important key function, Jolene?
To have everything on the trailer when we go on the road.
You have
to
a
have the
check
oil,
list,
the gas, all the basics, the jack so we can jack the car up.
Oh man, that must, you know, that's like sometimes I have to leave my house 5 or 6 times before I get everything, and I can imagine what that must be like when you're out there on the racetrack and you go, oh no, I forgot to put oil in the engine or something. Does this have this is a shift?
Yes, it does. There's a shift lever right there on the side, and it has uses a 4-speed transmission.
A 4-speed transmission? Is it a specially built transmission? Or
No, it has to be a stock Volkswagen transmission.
a stock Volkswagen transmission? You
That's
get
correct.
these cars going up to 130, 40 miles an hour, huh?
Well, they normally run in the 115 range. We have one track that we run at where the cars will run faster.
And you don't even modify the transmission at all?
You're not allowed to really change too much. There's a few things you can do to it, but basically it's a stock transmission.
Now I notice you got basically 3 gauges up here on the wheel, and then a 4th one here. You got oil pressure, oil temperature, and then of course a tachometer, and it's upside down.
Well, that's so I can read the tach. I read it through the steering wheel.
Uh-huh. So,
And then the other gauge over there was just an add-on. We were interested in what the cylinder head temperature was, so we just stuck a gauge in real quickly. That's something that's just we don't use all the time.
why is that important, Jess? Why do you want to know what the cylinder head temperature?
We were having a cooling problem,
Uh-huh.
and we were trying to isolate where it was coming from.
Oh, I see.
And so the oil temperature was running in excess of 280 degrees in a race, and the cylinder head temperature was almost 600 degrees.
Now that last race that we saw on the video, you
Right.
won that race.
Correct.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
How many of these races have you won?
Quite a few.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're one of the top contenders, huh?
We set the track record at the Rose Cup. We have the track record for the Festival Corner track and
No
without.
That's
And
great.
We've been quite successful. We've
Well,
really
congratulations.
felt quite good about our success.
Uh-huh. Now, does the computer really help you that much?
Yes, it does. What it does, the software is written in such a way that you get a graph out of this, and it will graph your lap out, and it shows how fast you were going in various parts of the track in a graph. Well, if you get a really great lap where you went really fast, you can overlay it over a poor lap, and you can see where you were slow.
Wow.
Then you can go out and make the necessary corrections, whatever you need to do. It also aids in car setup.
Uh-huh.
Like if you're having a real problem getting through a certain corner or something, you can look at that and say, well, gee, what's different about this? And you can look at the graph and see where your problems are.
Wow. So you're the only one that
Well,
has it,
it's
using
myself and one other person up in Seattle share this. And like I said, the person that works for Boeing is the one that developed it for us. and it's really wonderful. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're able to do now, and information we can generate and put to use.
Now, again, this is a Volkswagen chassis.
No, it's Volkswagen drivetrain.
I'm sorry. Okay, and then it's a custom chassis, and
Correct.
And it's built along some kind of specifications.
Yeah, we are the ones that designed the Tsunami race car. We built the chassis. It's built the way I wanted. I built it that way. The body was basically, we made a plug. We made a car out of chicken wire and screen and plaster of Paris and Bondo and everything else to get the shape we wanted. Once we had the shape and everything the way we wanted it, we laid fiberglass over it and made a mold. And then we were able to lay these bodies up.
It's beautifully done. So are you going to try to get into this thing for us? You want to give it a go?
We'll have to unplug some things here.
Okay. You need to help him, Jolene? You
I
want to get
think
up
he can do it. He just needs to empty his pockets and probably take his shoes off.
take a shower?
No shower.
Oh. So it looks like there is like one maybe one lever that you can flip that'll pop the harness loose.
Yes.
Is that right? In case of an accident. And what's this thing that looks like a pacifier?
That's the key to start the car. That turns the battery on. This gives new meaning to the term spandex.
And now he's taking off the steering wheel. He's actually removing the steering wheel.
This isn't easy.
You want a shoehorn? I'm sorry, I'm overusing that joke. But we'll get a crowbar to get you out, right? So do guys, when they're getting into these things, do they ever sometimes like get in, they've been eating too much that day and the car just kind of goes, pops open? So you're almost prone. I mean, you're pretty much on your back in.
Okay, there you are.
There's your mic.
Thank you.
Do you ever get a feeling of claustrophobia being in?
No, actually the car is once you're in here, it's extremely comfortable.
Uh-huh.
It's just getting in and out that's not very comfortable.
You said, now I don't remember whether, oh, sorry. I don't remember whether you said it was whether you mentioned this on the show or before the show, that you were in a wreck once and it took how long to get you out?
It took about half an hour to get me out of the car. It was just one of those things, you made a mistake and you just paid dearly.
So you get all kind of tangled up.
Well, we've changed the design of the car a little bit so that won't happen again. You won't get hurt like that, but it just tore my shoulder blade and collarbone apart.
Ooh.
And we had quite an ambitious schedule that year, so I took approximately 3 weeks off, and then I used cortisone shots to be able to drive the car after that.
Jess, what are your personal goals for this? Where do you see this going?
Well, this year we're just doing what we can do with the funding we have. Next year we're going to try to run a little bit more of an ambitious national schedule, starting with Phoenix in January. And we'd like to go back to mid-Ohio to the national runoffs next year.
Do you plan to move into a different class of racing at any time?
No. No,
You're going to stick with this, huh?
Probably, I think that if you move around a lot, you're not going to be able to be as good as you can be. So I think we need to stick with one thing and just do it as well as we can do it.
That's great. That's a very stoical attitude. Well, Frank has got a videotape for us, so we'll go take a look at that, and then we'll be back and wrap up the show. You're watching Racer Profile. My name is John Bennett, and this program is produced by Frank Mahoney, and today we're talking to we're back. You're watching Racer Profile, produced by Frank Mahoney. My name is John Bennett, and tonight we're talking to a winning Formula V racer, Jess Heitman, with his crew manager, Jolene Heerman. And we have a Formula V racer that Jess built from the ground up, from scratch, right here in the studio tonight. And it's a beautiful machine. I wish you could be in the studio to see it. It's really a work of art. And geez, you know, I was thinking I was going to tell everybody I'm sitting here talking to Robert Duvall and his wife. He looks kind of like Robert Duvall, don't you think? But no, it's Jess Heitman and Jolene Heerman. And maybe you, Jess, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the footage that we just saw. That was the July
National Race.
The July National Races. Where?
Portland International.
In Portland,
Raceway.
at Portland International
Yes.
Raceway, and you won that.
Yes, I did.
That's fantastic. How many racers were in that?
Well, it was about 14.
From all over the country.
Well, California cars were here. There was a person who finished second last year in the nation, and there was also the 1991 national champion was here.
Of course, you had a little bit of an advantage, didn't you? I mean, this is kind of your track.
Well, they've run here a lot. I don't think I would say I really have a home track advantage.
You go out and practice every weekend, don't you?
No, I wish I did, but I don't. No, we run well, but those other guys are really good drivers, and they're well-funded cars.
How many guys out of 14 were from Portland?
Probably 4.
Tell me, what's the most exciting moment that you've had racing Formula V?
Well, what's
the one moment that really stands out? Was it that wreck, or?
No, actually, I have to say that I think the one single exciting thing that I've done so far. In 1991, we went down to California to Sears Point, and we went down there to run a national race, and we not only won the national race, we came back the following day and won the regional race.
Wow.
And that's something that nobody from the Northwest has ever done.
So there's nothing quite like that checkered flag, is there?
No, there isn't. It's, to be honest with you, the person who said winning isn't everything has never won anything.
I saw that on a T-shirt a while back. And
it's true.
Well, you know, I was thinking that a lot of this there must be a certain degree of luck to it.
I think there is.
I'm not saying that it doesn't look like there's any skill. You've got to have the skill, but you could be the most skillful driver on the track, and if you get a bad break, that's it, right?
That's absolutely correct. Luck plays a big part of it. I believe to a certain extent you do create a lot of your own luck, but still there is the luck of chance, and that does need to ride with you.
And admit it, if you never won, you'd still keep racing, wouldn't you?
Probably.
Just for maybe the chance that next time you're going to win. Well, I guess we have one more video, is that right? One more video to look at. So we're going to take a look at that, but before we, this one was, well, I guess we should mention your partner, shouldn't we?
Yes, Alan Harrington.
Alan Harrington. Right. Tell me a little bit about Alan.
Alan actually came to me in about 1988, and I had an old Formula V I purchased out of somebody's garage, and sitting in my shop. I was always going to fix it and race it, never did. And so I came up with another car. As funny as it may seem, we used to have a rental house, and the people that were in the rental house had 2 old Formula Vs.
Really?
And so the guy went to work for Walker Evans down in California, who races the off-road Dodges and stuff. So he left his wife here, and she had to get rid of these Formula Vs. And so I looked at that, and I thought that'd be kind of neat. So I made her a ridiculously low offer. And so about a month later, she called me up, accepted my offer.
Wow.
And so I was a proud owner of 2 Formula Vs. Well, I took it home and looked at it. It was really a mess and it needed to be redone. Well, Alan Harrington I just met, and he wanted this other car I had. So Alan and I worked and put one car together, which I started racing in 1988.
So Alan is helping you build these things. And
Alan
get on
has
the
been
track.
instrumental in all this stuff, and when I first met him, he couldn't even put a nut and bolt together. And he's come to the point now where he can fabricate anything. He can lay up fiberglass that is absolutely gorgeous. He's just absolutely talented, and it's really been amazing to see.
Does he race?
Yes, he does.
Does he race against you?
Yes, he does.
Who's better? Are you better than he is?
No, actually, I'm sitting here. To be honest, I'm dreading the day that his car gets the horsepower mine does, because he's probably going to beat me.
Oh, I get it. I see. You're the senior partner, so you get the better car, huh? Jolene, are there any lady racers, any women racers
There
in
are
Formula
a few,
V? Do you have any desire to race?
None whatsoever.
Why not?
I like to watch.
Okay. Okay.
It's exciting enough from the sidelines.
Well, I guess we shouldn't push you. I'd like to thank the crew on our show tonight. Chris Kircham, Chris Kircham, Mark Turner, Kevin Moody, and Lauren Martins. We couldn't do the show without a good crew, and we know how important a good crew is, right, Jolene?
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. They're the ones. You know, in the professional biz, it's always the crew that eats first. The cast has to wait. You know, the crew gets fed first. So we'll stand back while the crew devours the donuts after the program here. This next clip, can you tell us something about it before we head out here?
I think Frank has done an interview with Alan Harrington, and Alan's going to share a little bit with us on his views of the team and what we do.
Okay, great. Well, I really want to thank you for taking your time and your car, bringing them down here and sharing them with us. This has been a real educational and fun, exciting experience for us to get to know something about Formula V racing. And I didn't know a darn thing about it, but now I feel like I'm almost an expert on it. So I want to thank you again for coming down here. And let's do it again sometime.
Very
okay?
good. We certainly appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Jess. Thanks, Jolene.
Thank you, John, very much.
And you've been watching Racer Profile. My name is John Bennett, and this program has been produced for you by Frank Mahoney, and special thanks to him. Watch again. Bye now.
We get dirty doing this stuff?
We try not. We try and stay as clean as possible.
That's right.
Clean as possible.
Yep.
What are you doing out here today?
Racing.
Racing? Well, I guess that's kind of a stupid question.
That's kind of simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hoping just to see to do the very best we can. So,
And what kind of where are you going here? What kind of car we got here?
Formula V.
What? I don't know nothing about this, so maybe you have to tell me
And
from
go up
ground
front
up.
so you get a better
This is
look of
a
it.
1974 Lynx B.
Lynx B?
Yep, that we completely restored over the last winter.
You made my day, Alan.
'74 Autodynamic. It's qualifies for almost a vintage race car, but we've taken the car over the winter and taken it down to a bare chassis and completely rebuilt the car to 94 specs. And the car's getting there. This is my second race back in 4 years, and we're really coming along good. Came out here to gain some experience with some of the fastest guys in the nation. And this car's running sixth, and this car over here, which is a brand new race car out of the box, we built that one over the winter as well.
Are you saying you actually built it from ground up?
We
or
built
what?
this race car from the ground up, and we took this down to a bare chassis and completely redid it. This one's running number 2 for qualifying today, and and we qualified this at number 6. So we're feeling pretty good about it. We're running pretty competitive times.
And what kind of engines do you put in here? Like say,
this is a 1200cc Volkswagen engine. The formula is based on a Volkswagen formula. If you see, it's got the Volkswagen front suspension, and then it's got a Volkswagen engine and a Volkswagen gearbox. And then of course the rest is all hand fabricated.
So you're saying Volkswagen, I mean just like a Volkswagen Beetle?
Just like a Beetle.
Just like a Beetle.
The early year Beetle.
The early year Beetle.
The early 60s.
So we got an engine from the early 60s racing in the 90s.
That's correct.
Quite a great combination.
Yeah, the old red line on the stock motors, which this is stock, it's been sweetened up as far as float and things like that, is probably about 4,500 RPMs, and we're running them about 7,000. 7,000. So we're just by balancing and blueprinting and porting and polishing, we can get these engines up to about 7,000 RPMs and run very, very fast out here. The cornering speeds are actually quite phenomenal in these open wheel race cars.
Well, what kind of times do Formula V's run out here?
Without the chicane, Jess holds the track record at a low 120. We're hoping to be able to run in the 119s today.
For letting me stop over here, and what corner are we on? Or
We're on pre-1.
Pre-1?
Yes.
Pre-1. Okay, and you have a co-worker here, and here you are. What's your name?
Jim, and communicator, and do some flagging at times. Try and keep everyone safe and just have fun.
Yeah, you're doing a good job today. I guess this is a great day to be, since this is like a pre-race day for IMSA.
Well, pre-weekend, yeah. This is just a regional national race, and of course, they're always a lot of fun. Pro races are fun, but these are more fun, really. So
these are the local guys and some of the NASA guys vying for national points today?
Exactly. So we always enjoy them, and it's a lot more fun, really, than the pro, because these are more relaxed and just enjoy everybody.
But you still got to watch out for accidents or
Oh, absolutely.
That's why you guys are here, right? Is to
Cars are being released.
try and keep everyone safe, and hopefully no one gets hurt, and cars don't get hurt either.
Okay, well, I guess we got another race coming up, and I heard on the radio that they're going to be released.